What's going on, guys, and welcome to Kyle is Famous. And obviously in this game we play as Kyle, who overnight has immediately become famous, and we are gifted with many options that lead his life, and there are many different endings, so let's get right into this. Kyle wakes up. He's famous. Kyle is the host of the most popular talk show in recent memory, Stay Up Late with Kyle. Stay Up Late with Kyle has grown in popularity quickly in the last year, and the public has noticed. Inside has called Kyle a most excellent, dumpy white man. Top Tech noted that Kyle is inspiring youth to explore STEM fields. Most other talk shows are dedicated to discussing Kyle and his personal details. Most online videos are best of clips taken from Kyle's latest broadcast. The eye of the world is upon Kyle. Tonight is Kyle's most important guest interview yet. Stay Up Late with Kyle will be featuring Rachel May. She's a kind and lovely philanthropist. She is dear to the hearts of many. This interview requires preparation. Kyle cracked his eyes open, knowing today is his last chance to prepare for the interview. Kyle has 30 hours. He must choose his actions wisely. Not every action we do counts as an hour. Don't ask me how, but let's start preparing. Kyle's first decision of the morning was made wisely. Exit the bed. Kyle exited his bed and took a quick glance around the bedroom. Closet. Kyle has opened the closet. It was dark and he could only really see his hanging shirts. Choose an outfit. Kyle has decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit, knowing how important his appearance is. Jeans, swimming goggles, skin past these, slick suit or a suit of armour. Let's go for a slick suit. Did I just accidentally click armour? Oh well. Kyle miraculously crammed his dumpy body into the suit. The chest pockets were filled with random knickknacks. Okay, well we did pick the suit then. Back to the room. Kyle's returned to the center of the room. Okay, to the desk. Kyle made his way inside to the desk. Right next to the interview, he wrote down his first question. Are you a mother? He wrote down his second question. What are some diet tips? Beef mashed or blended? Ever eaten a raw egg whole? What are some diet tips? Let's try go sensible and then we'll go a little bit crazy. Kyle wrote down his third question. What's your funniest story? Do you ever smile? Or I purposely ran over a puppy. What's your funniest story? Kyle wrote down his last question. What's your guilty pleasure? Do you feel guilty? Are you guilty? What's your guilty pleasure? He wrote his page of notes out of the notebook and got up from his desk. Back to desk. Kyle made his way over to the desk and sat down. Back to room. Kyle returned to the center of the room. Exit bedrooms to hallway. Kyle walks into the small hallway that connects the rooms of his apartment together. Check locked door. Leave apartment. Move to kitchen. Let's go to the kitchen. Kyle walked to the center of the kitchen. Check pantry. Kyle wanted to access the pantry but found it was locked with a small keyhole. Back to kitchen. Saw with the fridge. Kyle opened the fridge intending to find something to eat. Eat crust on fridge wall. Eat the fridge. Prepare for breakfast. Or eat condiments. Let's prepare breakfast. Kyle constructed a breakfast of poached eggs and toast with a small fruit cup and grilled sausage. Eat it. Kyle ate his breakfast slowly and thoughtfully, enjoying every bite. He felt refreshed. Returned to the kitchen. Kyle walked to the centre of the kitchen. Let's return to the hallway. Kyle walked into the small hallway that connects the room of his apartment together. Let's leave apartment. Kyle walked out into the middle of the road and took a long pondering look around him. Visit the tech store. Kyle walked into the clean, white tech store. He was greeted by Techno Jim, an elaborate cutout mascot with flashing lights. Turn to Shree, ask attendant for free samples, or steal Techno Jim. Let's ask him for free samples. Kyle asked the store attendant whether or not they offered any free samples to important customers. The attendant gave Kyle a confused, slightly vacant look. Kyle began to beg for a free sample. Wanting Kyle to leave, the attendant grabbed a decrepit phone meant for spare parts and held it out. Grab with teeth, grab with hand. Let's grab with hand. We're being polite. Kyle took the phone complacently from the outstretched hand and said quietly, "Thanks for your service." Kyle now has this phone to use forevermore. Back to store. Kyle walks into a clean white tech store. Give a review for the sample. More. Kyle hurried to the set. Sitting across his host's chair was a glamorous woman with an air of genuinity. As Kyle approached her, Rachel looked up and smiled. "Approach, Rachel." "Good evening, Kyle," she said, looking him in the eyes. "I've been looking forward to being here." Kyle responded. "Scream and spin in circles or answer politely." "Answer politely first. Like I said, we'll go a little bit mental later." "And I as well, Rachel," answered Kyle, extending his hand in greeting. "You are a most welcome guest." Shake hands. After another mild exchange of pleasantries, Kyle and Rachel were prompted to take their places for broadcast. Start broadcast. "Good evening, everyone," said Kyle, looking at the camera. "Welcome back to Stay Up Late with Kyle. This is turning into me reading you a bedtime story to those watching it at night time." Introduced Rachel. "Tonight I have the pleasure of interviewing the lovely Rachel May, who needs no more introduction." Kyle motioned to Rachel, who smiled and waved at the camera. "Hello, Kyle," she said. "I'm glad to be here." "Well, I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss, so we might as well dive right in," said Kyle. "I'm very ready," said Rachel with a winning smile. Kyle produced the notes he had taken earlier. "What are some diet tips?" "Rachel, you manage to keep such a thin and healthy figure," said Kyle. "What's your best diet tip?" "Well, a good diet starts with a plan," answered Rachel, "and don't break it. Cheat days can turn into a habit." "But," she continued, "that doesn't mean that a midnight snack here and there isn't allowed," she smiled. Kyle looked at his flabby self, decided not to comment, and moved on. Kyle asked another question. "Are you a mother?" Rachel and many others would love to know, "Are you a mother?" Kyle looked up from his notes. "Well, being a single woman with a career," she answered, "that's not something that's crossed my mind." Rachel smiled genuinely at Kyle. "Very reasonable indeed," said Kyle. He referenced his paper of questions. Kyle asked another question. "Anyway, what's your funniest story? You've been involved in a lot of different things," said Kyle, "but what's your funniest story?" "Well, that's a great question, Kyle," said Rachel. "I think the story I always remember is the first time I tried to make dinner for my family. In the soup I made, I swapped out the water with milk and tipped a whole jar of salt in the pot. While my family was sick from trying to eat it, I swiped their things and locked myself in a room." Rachel laughed elegantly. Kyle decided to move on. Kyle asked another question. "What's your guilty pleasure?" "We all have one. What's your guilty pleasure?" "Ooh, well that's an easy answer," said Rachel. "Dipping pickles in chocolate sauce." And Rachel, you are a disgusting human being. Don't put sour pickles into extremely delightful, smooth, creamy chocolate. They do not mix, Rachel. How dare you? It might sound strange, but it's tangy and sweet at the same time. Maybe that's because you put a pickle in chocolate. I eat it far too often. Rachel, how are you alive? How do you have friends? Rachel smiled sweetly. After reading his final question, Kyle looked up from his paper. "Well, Rachel," he said, "I think that's all I was planning on asking you." "If that's the case, Kyle, may I ask you something in return?" asked Rachel, smiling one more time. "Do you prepare for your interviews in advance? Because you seem very together. Before Carl could answer, the camera shut down. The broadcast was over. That's a little bit rude. Carl returned home knowing the interview had gone well. But as he lay in the bed and drifted to sleep, he felt perhaps something was still missing. Carl prepared very well. Okay. This got a little bit mental. Carl's first decision in the morning was made wisely. Wither away. Carl decided to stay put and wither away. Carl successfully withered away and died. Shucks. Carl is now a ghost. This does not relieve him of his responsibilities. That's a little bit random. Get out of bed anyway. I guess we're a ghost and we don't really need to get dressed. Carl exited his bed and took a quick glance around his bedroom. Okay, let's just scavenge. Carl quickly crouched down on the floor, realizing his immediate need for gossip.
What are you so happy about?
I was not going to press that, but okay. Carl firmly pressed his ear into the carpet, hoping to hear some stray words from the neighbours below. I heard Rachel May is going on a trip out of the country soon. Oh, girlfriend, tell me more. Well, what I will tell you is that every night I don a mask that looks like a bug and fight misdoers. There was a stunned silence. Then a door opened and someone exited the neighbour's apartment. That's quite enough. Carl returned to the centre of the bedroom, scavenge for bugs. Kyle started to pick between the fuzz of his bedroom carpet, hoping to catch a stray beetle or two. Soon he had a small handful of various insects, dead and alive. Eat immediately. Kyle threw back his head and crammed the sticky, wriggling mass into his mouth. He felt refreshed. Kyle returned to the centre of the bedroom, exit into the hallway. Okay, let's check that locked door. Float through the door as a ghost. We couldn't go through there before. Carl used his ghostly powers to walk straight through the door. Carl found himself in a room stuffed with various items sent to him by fans. Check supernatural artifact. This is one of many mysterious artifacts Carl has been sent over the years. Smash it. Carl began pounding at the mysterious artifact with both fists. Within a few hours, it became dust. An ancient force trapped in the artifact is released and turned Carl into a lizard demon. Carl found himself in the room. Back to the hallway. Let's just leave the apartment and visit the downstairs neighbour. Carl approached his downstairs neighbour's door and knocked. A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door. She looked at Carl expectantly. Greetings, start conversation. Consume Gabby, scream and spin. Consume Gabby. Carl unhinged his jaw and swallowed Gabby whole. Job done, Carl returned to the middle of the street. There's the text door. Steel Techno Gym. And then, there we go. Kyle hurried to set. Per normal, he ceased to be a ghost before he arrived. I don't have clothes on, do I? See how this goes. Sitting across from his host's chair was a glamorous woman with an edge of ingenuity. As Kyle approached her, Rachel looked up and smiled. Rachel's smile turned to horror. She realised that she was looking not at a human but a lizard demon. Pandemonium ensued, scripts went flying, crew members ran in all directions, lights were knocked over. As Kyle watched the chaos around him, his lizard demon form enveloped his last shred of humanity. Kyle grew into a massive size. Within several minutes, he had demolished the now empty set. A local force of 5 spunky teenagers in brightly coloured apparel arrived at the scene to fight Kyle. As the teenagers swung at him with their spunky, individualised weapons, Kyle pushed them over with his foot. Kyle's rampage of his studio ruins continued, but in another part of the city, a hero was rising up. This has turned into a weird story. In a dusty apartment on top of the floor, on the top floor of an old skyscraper in the oldest part of town, sat a large man named Frank. Few people in the world knew that Frank existed. Fewer knew his name. Frank was watching the local news. A story about a studio rampage was playing. Quickly, Frank got up from his chair. He opened a small door hidden behind a poster in his wall. Inside was an unbelievable mound of fat-ridden foods, unrefrigerated and fairly rotten. He began to consume the mound at a frightening rate. His body began to puff. He expanded faster and faster. With each minute, he burst through the roof. Within minutes, Frank was a towering behemoth. He rolled across the city, rebounding off buildings and getting cheers from onlookers below. Approaching Kyle, Frank gave a long, painful heave upwards into the sky. To Kyle, the sky turned black. He looked upwards to see the monstrous figure hurtling towards him, and in a moment Kyle was completely enveloped in rubbery fat, unable to move or make noise. Frank was quite tired and passed out where he lay. Several years went by as Frank slumbered. As Kyle was held in Frank's warm, fatty embrace, his humanity began to return. When the first winter came, Frank's body recycled his fat for resources. Over many months, he shrank in size. Eventually, Kyle was human and Frank was thinned. They both walked away from the scene as new men. Neither realised how much time had passed. Well, boy, that was fun. And that... oh, Kyle is Santa. Maybe another video. But, thank you guys for watching. You've been watching Ghost Guy. I'll see you guys in the next one.